name is Adeline Ejekum Abebio with this edition of Ghana Today, stories from our correspondents across the country. And in the headlines, Metropolitan and Municipal Assemblies admonished to invoke full powers in bylaws to demolish structures erected on waterways to prevent flooding. How effective has been the intake of antiretrovirals for persons living with HIV? We delve deeper on strides made so far in the fight against HIV and AIDS in the country. And what is the ordeal of going through a broken heart? We engage people with broken hearts for answers. Antiretrovirals have become vital for persons living with HIV in recent years. Health experts and HIV and AIDS advocates say, though taking a drug for life can be stressful and tiring, the best bet for HIV-positive persons or persons living with HIV is the antiretrovirals. Though plans are far advanced for a vaccine in the next few years to prevent the disease, the program manager for the HIV and AIDS and STI control program of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Ayisi Addo, says until then, persons living with HIV should strictly adhere to the medication to reduce their viral loads and not to transmit the virus to other persons. Mavis Champon in this report brings us more on antiretrovirals and how it is helping in the fight against HIV and AIDS in the country.
AIDS, oyayarba mosopo. AIDS, ochowa ugwarayen. AIDS, ipati nozi yarba.
This used to be one of HIV/AIDS education songs that was heard in the 1990s when HIV had no known medication. 20 years down the lane, scientists, development partners, and the World Health Organization (WHO) developed a drug that can help manage the HIV virus, though there is still no cure. HIV being retrovirus, the only means to curtail the virus was to develop an antigen that can fight its growth. Known as antiretrovirals, ARTs, these drugs, whether taken as a pill or injectable, have saved over 1 billion lives across the globe. Health experts say the ARTs suppresses or reduces a patient's viral load and helps the immune system to repair itself.
Antiretrovirals are the only medication that can suppress the action of the virus. And so it is more than critical. It is the lifeline to living with HIV, because without antiretrovirals, your immune system would keep fighting for a period of time, but at some point in time, when the action of the virus is more than your defense system, then you start having the opportunistic infections, and then you deteriorate and get to the AIDS stage. But with the antiretroviral, then you halt the action or you immobilize the action of the virus, more like you arrest them, and so they are imprisoned. And so if you go off the antiretroviral, it's like you've opened the floodgates and then they come out and cause or rage the immune system. And so that is when the opportunistic infections set in. And so for the antiretroviral, it is non-negotiable. It is the only treatment for now that is recommended to prevent multiplication as well as co-infection.
Currently in Ghana, with 350,000 persons living with HIV, PLWHIV, over 260,000 are on antiretrovirals. This, the National HIV, AIDS and STI Control Program at the Ghana Health Service, through countless interventions and education, wants to get at least every PLWHIV on treatment, since ARTs are the game changers now.
We started antiretroviral medication in 2003. Before then, we didn't have anything. So people will only give them Septrin. The truth is that if you take your antiretroviral medication religiously and strictly, you will become, in terms of your profile for survival, like any other in the population, and better than the person who has stroke and who has certain other diseases.
Reverend Amuzu has been living with HIV for the past 13 years. He tested HIV positive in the year 2000 and says but for the anti-retrovirals that was introduced to him and his late wife, he would not have lived till now. He said though it was sometimes challenging and difficult, he accepted the ARTs as part of his life.
Many people get tested, they told them they're HIV. They are still in a wonderland. They said no. 2 years, 3 years, they have never still accepted it. So if you never accepted it, how can you start medication? And it is a medication that is working the magic. So number one, you must accept it. And if you accept it, if you are a couple, so your husband needs to also support you. So for mommy, may her soul rest in peace. I supported her to take her medication. Every day I make sure I take mine, mommy also takes her own.
Acceptance on the part of the patient and support from family, husbands and wives are some of the key surviving drives when it comes to HIV treatment and care.
People are adhering to treatment, but because they are not shown love, they are not shown support and encouragement from partners, from family, from friends, that is what kills people. And so if family, friends are providing that support, it feeds into their mental well-being and then encourages them to keep living positively and also contributing their quota in whatever way that they need to.
Unlike Reverend Amuzu, who together with his wife accepted their HIV status and were ready to be on treatment, Ruth Mensah, also a person living with HIV, had a challenge accepting her status.
Because I'm not so far, what you can diagnose and I'm not born. Mama, from 2004, I'm compulsory. Today, I'm back. I will double check. Then I'm not over the cassette phone. The Nippon cassette phone, look at you, can Diana, will be. Look at my head, I'm going to do Kraman. Look at my banana, no, let's call up. I'm going to Kakama. I'm sending a baby and a sister in the cassette phone. I'm saying, look at Fauci move. No, I'm on the Karo and the baby. The son will get made in the move. No, okay, it's in the air. One man, I'm going to put on your but me in the movie.
Ruth, who has been living with HIV for the past 18 years, tells me she accepted her faith after several counseling sessions and encouragement from some health workers and HIV advocates. But even with that, her husband had to push her out of the house. However, her parents were very supportive.
Let them know not all day. After my and papa no woman, I mean, let them ask me in a one. No crap, mammy and papa woman, and I'm going to know home. Then go back to the meeting personally, but all of mammy and papa will support him. Mommy, I didn't know what to, but now also I you also want to find. Oh, but if you is go me, don't account, and you be share support them. Or go me, I was then down. I don't found me. Moyan, while I'm showing the that instructions was a morning, maybe the joke is that.
Advocates say though HIV is still real and has no cure, it is not a death sentence. A person who tests positive can live for long provided they adhere religiously and dutifully take their prescribed drug regimen.
God was days when even the initial medications that came, people had to take 12 pills, 10 pills in the morning, 10, 12 pills in the evening. But now we take 1 pill a day or 1 pill morning, 1 pill evening. And so a lot has changed. Meanwhile, we don't see any information or we see very little. And so we need to go back and keep reorienting people's minds and perception that HIV is no longer a death sentence. And even if you become positive, there is treatment to manage the condition so that you can live long.
I'm living with HIV for the past 23 years, but I didn't start antiretroviral the day I got tested. That time there was no antiretroviral. It was depending on herbal medicine, which was not helping anyway, but that is the only. So when antiretroviral came, because it came in a small quantity, the Ghana Health Service came with a map. They will do a test for you called CD4. So when your CD4 is above 250, they will not start with you. Those whose CD4 is below 250, they started with them. But then my CD4 was above 250, but my late wife CD4 was below 250. So she started, I didn't start. Because if they put everybody on it, it is not enough. It will not reach. So on, we are doing more advocacy. Then now, many have come and everybody must receive it.
The program manager of the National HIV AIDS and STI Control Program of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Stephen Ayisi Addo, said though there are challenges in getting people tested for HIV, the service is now targeting the youth through the School Health Education Program, SHEP, with a comprehensive prevention program on HIV to know their status and the need to abstain or use condom.
And it's very, very necessary that we continue to shore up the educational adherence to antiretroviral medication, which assures suppression and breaks the risk of transmission of HIV. For those in school, through the school health program, the SHEPs, we are really targeting them, in fact, with the help of the Global Fund. Now, we need to also address some vulnerability issues. I mean, those who are not in school because of financial issues, those who are hard to reach areas, those who are being given up to marriage early. We have to deal with those issues because some of them, early betrothal and all that, it can lead to problems. Those who are being subjected to all kinds of things like female genital mutilations, potential risk, and all that. All these people are vulnerable.
Known as human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, it is a retrovirus that infects the cells of human immune system, thereby weakening the body's ability to fight everyday infections and diseases. A person with HIV becomes vulnerable to other infections and if not treated can lead to AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Health experts say there is currently no effective cure, and once a person gets HIV, he or she lives with it for life.
Last year, when statistics were shared by the Ghana Commission and then the National AIDS STI Control Program, we realized that there was an increase in infections from the period January to September of 2022, and majority were young people. And so it is alarming because young people are engaging in all kinds of lifestyles and behaviors. And let us not also forget that HIV is not transmitted only sexually, that there are other modes of transmission. The only thing is that sexual transmission accounts for 80 to 85%, so it is greater. So for people to prevent being infected, we will continue to preach the ABCD. A is abstinence, total abstinence from sex. And so for our young persons, we would encourage them to abstain from sex. If you cannot abstain from sex, unprotected sex, and then you would need to be faithful to one uninfected partner or person, one uninfected partner or person. And so you should know your status, and then that person should know his or her status. So both of you should know your status.
The National HIV AIDS and STI Control Program says there are plans to have vaccines in the next few years, but until then, the antiretrovirals are the sure way to go for persons living with HIV and the only means to reduce the viral load of PLWHIV for them to live longer and healthier lives with their families. The report was made possible with support from the Center for Science and Health Communication, CSHC, and funding from the National Research Foundation, South Africa.
Mavis Ofe Champon's report.